said, I'm glad the club have held off the contracts. I think Salah's done, to be honest. Just my opinion. I'm not a pro FSG either. Need a rebuild top this summer. If it happens, is another thing. So, on the Salah and Virgil stuff, do I see a world, perhaps, where Edwards looks at it and thinks their race is ran? Maybe. But here's the thing I don't get, Liam. If that's the case, and the club are of that mindset, why all the bullshit about wanting to extend them and still negotiating behind the scenes and trying? This is what I don't get, mate. There's no decisiveness. If that is the line and the club want to say that and stand by it, then do it. But again, it's the manipulation and lies. Oh, they're trying to extend, they want to extend, they're trying to work it out. It's a battle for hearts and minds, like I've said, and they don't want to seem like they're the bad guys. But I think you could be right, mate. I think that could be where this is going. Now, I don't know. You know, Father Time will tell us whether this is a good or a bad decision. And for me, I could live with Mo going if Virgil stays. But I can't see a world where we get rid of Virgil, we get rid of Mo, we get rid of Trent, and we're competing for a league title next year. No matter what business is done in the summer. I just can't see it. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, and we're talking again next year, and we've refreshed, and we've brought in players, and we look brilliant, and we're at it from the get-go. But I find it very difficult because there's been no succession planning at this club, and they're letting these players walk out the door for nothing again. And that's tough to take. Josh and Tom Werner, or John and Tom Werner, said, Craig, what do you think happens with the big three in the summer? I don't know. Trent, I think, is gone. I think, but I don't know. I think they don't want to give Mo the money. But with Virgil, I think Virgil deserves a new deal. I think Mo deserves a new deal. But I can't understand not giving Virgil a new deal. Like, whatever they think about Mo, maybe you fall away, maybe his impact will lessen. Virgil's not going to have a lesser impact. He's our captain. I don't see why he hasn't been given a new deal. And even he doesn't seem to know. I don't think all is as good behind the scenes as we're being led to believe it is. And that, again, this lack of belief in the players, that lack of investment into them, that's going to show on the pitch. It's going to show psychologically. You know, these are human beings, like I keep saying. You can say they're professional all you want, but we're asking them to put their mind, soul, bodies on the line, and the club aren't willing to back them. You can't tell me that doesn't have a knock-on effect. They're human. Kaz/Riv said, if Hughes Edwards were more transparent, they might get our backing. We might not agree, but at least we'd have an understanding. I feel Slot is battling just like Klopp did and not being heard. So I think you've made a very good point. What happens in the situations where everybody's silent is doubt creeps in, frustration creeps in, and we all start arguing, Kaz. And you're right, we may not agree with the plan that Hughes and Edwards have, but at least we know there's a plan. Because as fans right now, what we've seen is contracts run down, and another one runs down in Canada, and I still can't figure out a reason why they won't give Canada a new deal. I'll get that one sorted out. We've been manipulated, lied, and had journalists push the agenda of the club to make us all think everything's great behind the scenes and everybody's going to be renewed and everybody wants to stay and everyone's singing Kumbaya and, you know, dancing around the campfire. Whereas the truth is, there's probably a lot of resentment right now. You cannot tell me that Mohamed Salah ain't pissed off right now. That Virgil isn't annoyed right now. We may never know why Trent may go to Madrid or not, but maybe, like somebody said to us in the comments earlier on, maybe they don't feel the club's going to push on from here. Maybe they don't feel the investment's going to come. All of these things have a knock-on effect. But so many times, as fans, we get told that what we're seeing with our own two eyes isn't the case, and that we're ill-informed and we don't understand. We understand getting knocked out of tournaments. We understand our players being played off the park. We understand fatigue when we see it. So start doing your jobs and start calling this out. Because we'll be here again next year talking about the same thing. It's cheapness. FSG are cheap. It is absolute cheapness. There's no doubt in my mind. Any other club in the world, do you think Van Dijk's being let go right now? If he was at United, Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid, Barcelona, do you think Virgil van Dijk doesn't have a new deal at this point? Bayern Munich, any other club captain, playing a brilliant season, doesn't show any signs of slowing down, and yet our club can't figure out a way to give a man who wants to stay a contract, Why might that be? It can only be because they're cheap. End of. And if you think of a different perspective, please put it in and we'll talk about it. But that's the way I see it. Slot's role is head coach, so for me, Richard Hughes should be the one facing the media. I think that's very fair, James. You can't sell us all on a vision of Arne being the head coach when there's having a structure with a sporting director in it, and then expect Arne to deal with questions that should be sporting director questions. So I absolutely agree with you on that one. Ian said, Craig, don't forget Diaz wants a new contract. Liverpool are happy to sell him, and were happy to sell him last summer, but they didn't get the money they wanted. So, look, Gini Wijnaldum left the club frustrated. Henderson left the club frustrated, whether rightly or wrongly. And it looks like more players are going to leave the club frustrated. Remember that piece that Mo Chatra wrote about football finance and the world of football finance, where Liverpool are known as being miserly in the industry. So we keep getting told about Husqvarna, about all the companies that Liverpool are partnering up with commercially and all the revenue it's bringing in and all the Nike money and all, but we never ever see it invested on the pitch. Ever. So how can we be one of the biggest clubs in the world, but we don't have the spending power of a mid-table Premier League club? It's pathetic. And here's another one. And again, you'll notice the language involved in this one from Christian Falk. And the language here is very important. Liverpool have added Wolfsburg's defender Konstantinos Kouliarakis to the shortlist of possible replacements for Virgil van Dijk. Replacements. That word's been used a lot lately, hasn't it? Replacements for Virgil van Dijk. Not to fill the centre-back void that we currently already fucking have, but to replace Virgil van Dijk. Let me save the time. You can't replace him. You can't replace him without a proper succession plan over a couple of years. It makes me laugh talking about assets and value. In what world would you not invest in your own asset to make it even more appealing to the outside? They just won't spend the money, mate. Again, you know, we all have a laugh and a joke, and I go, ha ha ha, where's the money, John, and all. But ultimately, there's a reason I say, where's the money, John? Because they won't spend. Nolly Pop said, does anybody think behind the scenes may have affected Darwin? Don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I find it hard because it's been two different coaches with Darwin as well over 2 seasons. So I find it difficult to think that it's because maybe, I don't know. It's tough to know because football is one of those industries where even if, you know, things were burning down behind you, you'd have to stand in front of a camera and say, everything's great. Everything's great. You know, it's smoke and mirrors football. But you got to understand that and know that when you're dealing with some of the crap that we read and see and are told to digest. James said, you simply cannot replace Trent, Salah and Virgil in one transfer window and remain title contenders. So I remember when I did the piece with Mo Chatra from Anfield Index a month or so ago. And I remember Mo, who was, of course, a chartered accountant and an analyst. And I remember him saying that by his calculations and others, that it would take just to replace those three about 300 to 400 million probably for the quality you'd need. Now, if we have to replace those three and it takes us even 200 million, that's just getting us back to where we were and hoping for the best. That's not improving the squad. That's just getting the players who've already left back in. That's without freshening up left back. That's without bringing in a centre forward. That's without bringing in adequate replacement in midfield. So we're supposed to believe that we're going to see our owners spend 300 or 400 million in a window. I'll believe that when I see it. And if I do see it, well, then we'll wait and see what happens next season. But I agree, James. I find it very difficult to think that you can replace basically the spine of a team and think you're going to be contenders for the title again next year. I think it's natural to expect a betting in process. But let's wait and see.